Hello, this is Mrs. Fletcher, a teacher of geography, who is just going to go through with you at this point what is on the geography exam for 2022 GCSEs only. So just to make it clear, just say on the PowerPoint there, we are in geography studying the AQA specification for geography. If you do look at any material online or use any revision materials, please make sure you are following the AQA scheme of work. That is because other exam boards ask slightly different topics and slightly different questions. But in this particular exam board, there are 3 exams at the end of year 11 for geography. So the first paper, exam 1, is known as Living with the Physical Environment. That is going to be for 2022 only, 1 hour and 30 minutes, and it's going to be worth 80 marks. For paper 2, challenges in the human environment, that is going to be 1 hour and 15 minutes and worth 63 marks. And for paper 3, which is known as Geographical Applications, that is going to be just 1 hour and worth 56 marks. I want to make it clear that for this year, because of things to do with COVID and the pandemic and some time missed in school, they have shortened paper 2 and paper 3. So paper 2 is normally 1 hour 30 and is worth 88 marks as well. For paper 3, that is normally 1 hour 15. So they have slightly amended those paper times. So if, again, you were to do some revision online, you might find exam papers with slightly more different marks and with different timings. So I just want to make it explicitly clear that has been kind of arrangements made just for this year's year 11 for the 2022 cohort. So there has been some kind of content removed from exams this year. Obviously, because a lot of our GCSE Year 11 students missed a lot of work in Year 10, they have removed certain questions on certain topics so that we don't have to teach them, because effectively we have lost quite a bit of time in schools. So again, just to make it clear, paper 1, which is all to do with physical geography, has actually not changed in any way. So all pupils need to answer all questions on paper 1, and it's all about physical or natural geography. So it includes key topics like the challenge of natural hazards. That is to do with things like earthquakes, volcanoes and tropical storms. We have revised all of that material in class. You have case studies in terms of these particular hazards as well. So we have covered all of these topics for paper 1. It also involved the living world, which is basically focusing on ecosystems. So we have studied 2 main ecosystems, and that is tropical rainforests and cold environments. So we have looked at the Amazon rainforest, and we've looked at a place called Svalbard in Norway, and we've looked at Alaska in the USA as examples of these real life ecosystems. In paper 1, students will also be tested on what we call UK physical landscapes. So in particular, they will be asked exam questions on coasts and rivers. Again, we have looked at several real-life case studies to highlight to pupils what is happening in these environments, coastal environments or river landscapes and their catchments, and pupils have covered all the work of that in class. I have said this to pupils in lessons. One of the best things to revise from is their class book, but every single lesson that I have done and covered is also in their Year 11 Geography Team folder. So there is revision material in there, past questions, they are the PowerPoints that I've gone through. So if they have missed the odd lesson, they can go back and revise from that. They're not missing any of this content. Now, the only thing that pupils don't answer a question on in this topic, and this is the same every year, irrelevant of the actual pandemic or not, is glaciation. So because we've studied coasts and rivers, some schools look at glaciers instead of coasts and rivers. We don't do that. So I have made this explicitly clear that in the exam, the final question on paper 1 for physical environment will be on glaciation that our pupils don't answer. So paper 1, as I say, has not been amended that much. However, there are some changes to paper 2. Now, paper 2 is human geography. So that effectively focuses on urban issues or challenges on cities and built-up areas. So for paper 2 this year, pupils still answer the whole of section A. So the first kind of subject on this paper is all about urban issues and challenges. So we've looked at kind of the growing problems of urban areas. We have looked at an example of 2 cities. We have looked at Mumbai in India, and we have looked at Sheffield in the UK. And that is because we need to compare what we call a lower income country, which, as you can see on the PowerPoint there, is abbreviated to a LIC, versus what we call a higher income country, which is obviously a richer country like the UK. So we look at the fact that both sets of urban areas, both examples, Sheffield and Mumbai, do have problems because of overpopulation, but those problems are quite different due to obviously kind of economic and development factors in geography. We also kind of look at the idea of how cities can kind of solve these issues. So we look at opportunities and how cities need to start thinking about becoming more sustainable. So we've looked at ways in which cities can kind of maintain resources. We looked at 2 case studies where certain communities have pulled together resources to ensure that they are more environmentally friendly and that buildings are using more green energy rather than relying on fossil fuels or non-efficient forms of energy as well. Again, we have studied all of that in school, so pupils have notes on that in the books, and it is also on Teams. Now, this is where it changes slightly for paper 2. So this year, we do not have to answer section B. Section B is about the economic world. It's about money. We effectively have chosen not to kind of cover that because it has been given as an element of optionality. So because our time has been restricted, what the exam board AQA have said this year is that pupils could either answer section B or section C. And because this ties in nicely with the work that we've done on urban sustainability, I have focused on teaching the pupils this year on just section C, the challenge of resource management. So there will be a section B on paper 2 about economic challenges, but all of my students do not answer that. They are not going to lose any marks for that. They're not disadvantaged in a way. That is to make it fairer for them so that they have had more time to concentrate and revise the kind of key topics we've covered. So section C is all about the challenges of resource management. And my pupils, again, will answer questions on food, water and energy in the UK, how the UK kind of uses certain energy in our energy mix, any issues we've got with water in terms of the fact that we have more rainfall in the west, so we need to look at water transfer schemes to get it to places in the southeast that are more heavily populated and so on. And then finally, they answer a final question on energy, because we have looked at energy as a case study. So again, we've looked at how other countries then try to manage their energy supplies. So we looked at Nepal and how that is looking at more green energy and hydroelectric power because it's cheaper and it's easier for a country like Nepal that is landlocked to access that type of energy. Again, I've made this clear to the pupils. Pupils are aware of this. I have made it clear in kind of all their books, and all the information they need can be found in Teams. For paper 3, again, it's slightly changed, only marginally this one. So paper 3 is their final exam, and it's known as Geographical Applications. This is basically where pupils need to demonstrate geographical skills. So they need to be able to read certain data, they need to be able to read maps, certain graphs, certain choropleth maps, of a way of interpreting information. Now, there are 2 parts to this exam. So the first part is what is known as an issue evaluation. So 12 weeks before the exam is actually due to commence, every school that is doing the AQA exam is sent out what is known as a resource booklet on a decision-making exercise. So that actually comes into school as of the 22nd of March. What we will do then, myself as a teacher and obviously Year 11s as a group, is we will look through that booklet and we have an opportunity to kind of read through, assess, make notes in the booklet about the data that is in there. So it will focus on a specific geographical issue. At this point, we don't know what that geographical issue could be, but it could be anything from the other two papers. So it could be something to do with physical or natural geography, or it could be something to do with human or urban environments. So basically, pupils get what we call a pre-release material, things that they can look through and work out and assess. They then, when they get into paper 3 exam, will have a copy of the booklet that they've been sent out, but it will be a new one, so they're not allowed to take notes in with them. All the material that is in that booklet will be familiar to them by then, because we'd have gone through it in lessons. The idea of this is then they are asked certain questions which we don't know, neither myself or the pupils know at this point, and we need to use that data to support certain arguments, or basically to justify a decision about that paper 3. And then finally, the second part of paper 3 is about fieldwork technique. Now, in any other kind of normal year, if you like, we would have had the opportunity to go out and do our own research and fieldwork in geography. Due to the fact that we've not effectively been able to take pupils out of school, a lot of schools have not been able to do fieldwork, us included. So what that means is they have removed those marks from paper 3, which is why it's slightly shorter than it normally would be in other years. And while we are not going to answer questions on our research, the pupils do need to know about what we call fieldwork theory and how to plan and formulate a hypothesis to investigate. So again, we have gone through that in lessons, we're recapping that in lessons, and we know kind of what kind of theory questions we might get asked about. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the exam content. As I say, it maybe sounds more complicated than it is. Basically, we still have 3 exams, but paper 2 and paper 3 in geography have been slightly amended. We've got a little bit more choice about the questions we can answer due to the fact we've had less time to revise it. As per normal, we are still assessed on what we call assessment objectives in geography. So throughout each 3 papers, pupils are assessed on what we call the 4 assessment objectives that you can see there. So there are a lot of techniques that they will be tested on throughout all 3. It's just the certain topics and knowledge they need to have for each paper is slightly different. As far as we are aware, we still have the exam dates below for those 3 papers. We've still not got confirmation of actual start times, but I have made it aware to the pupils. Their mock exams in March are going to be set out exactly as they would be in their real GCSEs. So I am giving them the same optionality, the same timings, the same marks for those mocks as they would have in their normal exams. And again, just a little reminder, all resources are available in Teams. I can't stress this enough. I obviously spend time as a teacher putting these resources together, but I've also uploaded them all into a Teams folder. So while I appreciate some pupils are still having to isolate or have been off ill, even if they have missed 1 or 2 lessons, they can independently go back through, check those lessons. There are resource booklets in there. I am setting pupils as well homework on what we call Seneca, which is basically past questions and revision content. Pupils have had the opportunity to obviously kind of get access to textbooks, and I know quite a number of pupils have got those now. If there are any kind of issues with those, please kind of mention it to myself or Mr. Loftus. And again, anything that is going on in the news at the moment, so quality newspapers, they all link to geographical ideas and concepts, so give people and pupils a greater understanding of geography. And I have on the internet, or on, their Teams folder, put a list of appropriate revision sites for that AQA material, which again, they can access, go to the hyperlinks, and they can find extra exam material. Any questions, please kind of contact me at school and I'll be happy to discuss anything with you. Thank you.